Carolina offensive coordinator Donnie Kirkpatrick. We are talking one of my favorite things, Pirate football, on the Sports Objective, the official, unofficial podcast of the Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode. From the sidelines down to the post, put it down like not even close. All out till the last whistle blow. For the flag of the soul and crossbones. Everybody stand up, get your hands up. Let the team know that we got they back. This is our house, this is our town. Our time, back a 1-9, copy that. Everybody gonna see us go bananas. Scream loud, baby, don't hold back. Every foot, every yard, every first down, every touchdown with the cannons blast. Get it on, get it all, get the wave going like a hurricane, y'all make a splash. Tell me what you came for, if you can't show love, come on baby with your purple flash.
Welcome into the Pirate Preview right here on the Sports Objective. I'm Dave Richmond along with, ladies and gentlemen, Kyle from LaGrange. Barber, how are you, sir?
Doing good, Dave. Enjoyed the basketball game tonight. We played Oklahoma tooth and nail. I think we got a pretty good basketball team this year. I know we're talking football right now, but we lost. But man, you got to feel good about things.
No doubt about it. Pirates are now 3-1 on the season, and we're we'll obviously still be in the Myrtle Beach Invitational. We'll play again, guaranteed at least 2 more games. Bubba Rosenbaum, what's up, dude?
Not a whole lot, like Kyle said. Disappointing finish, but all in all, very encouraging, and you got to love where the program's headed under Joe Dooley.
And former linebacker in the Logan era, Mr. Matt Semenza, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. My mind is completely on football. I'm not going to lie. Navy is a program that's really owned East Carolina here. I'm really hoping this is the week we finally turn the corner. I think we have a good opportunity. So I'm just looking forward to the game on Saturday.
And Matt, I know you stayed up all week. You look pretty good for a guy that's not rested. Breaking down all the film. I know you very well. You've been breaking down the film, and we got a special feature with you later in the show that we'll do.
No doubt.
Looking forward to that, man.
Absolutely, guys. I have the big board ready for you, so we'll break that out later.
Sounds good. Hey, Bubba, very excited to have a dear friend of ours. Been on the show numerous times over the last few years. We have well over 500 podcasts and shows and 3.5 years worth. And this guy, every time it's ECU, Navy, Army, Navy, whatever the case may be, he's always been good to us.
Yeah, anytime the Pirates and midshipmen get together, always great to have Pete Medhurst on, the play-by-play voice of the midshipmen. Pete, how are things going?
Bubba, doing great. Always good to be with you guys, that's for sure.
A lot of fun, Pete. Certainly, where I work, I see a lot of veterans come in, and this week it's really spoke to me about, our country, and love to, in some respects, you love to play Navy because of the respect we have of those guys that are serving the country. But yet, man, it's a tough game. Pirates have only won 1 game in the series, going all the way back to 2011 in Annapolis. But always great to visit with you, and I think it's going to be a really tough game this Saturday.
Obviously, as we were talking beforehand, I mean, the days of Navy scoring 76 and 66 on the Pirates, I think are long gone. But as I've told you all, every time I've joined you, from the time Mike was hired, you knew he was going to get it turned around. The only question was going to be how long was it going to take him? How fast could he get it? And the environment of college football with the transfer portal and things of that nature now helps you, I think, in any rebuilding situation, accelerate the process. The problem is this is one of the best leagues in the country year in and year out. So you can bring in better players. That may not necessarily translate to more wins, more losses, less losses because of how tough the league is. And I think, you look at a lot of comparable results between Navy, between East Carolina. Some of these games, East Carolina has been this close in the past. They're finally finding ways to break through and win those games. They're not making the critical mistakes on defense that have really plagued them in the past. The philosophy is clear. It's physical football on both sides of the ball. And it's just taken him the time to get the Jimmies and Joes that he needs or the Jaquans, as I like to call it, to start making those things happen on the defensive side. And without question, last year's game was a barn burner. Ehlers doesn't play in that game because of all the, COVID stuff that was going on. So I don't hold any team responsible for any of their results from last year. I don't care if you won the national championship or you won no games at all. I don't hold anybody responsible for what happened in 2020. But that game itself showed me just how close East Carolina was with the way they played us last year. And obviously we were lucky enough to escape by a field goal.
Pete, I have a question for you. When you say that, Navy is nowhere close to the days when they were scoring 66, what is the difference? I mean, do you think that the league, the American, has sort of caught up with the style of play Navy runs, or is it more of a talent thing where Navy might just be a little bit down talent-wise?
I think it's simple for us. It's youth and inexperience at the quarterback position, plain and simple. We have probably one of the best defenses we've ever had at the academy right now. But it's ironic where in the past we didn't necessarily have the complementary football from the defensive side. Right now we're in a situation where the complementary football is not coming consistently from our offensive side. And it's just youth and inexperience. None of the top two guys that have played, the quarterback position this year have really had any snaps. I mean, Xavier Arline gets thrown into the Army game last year as a starter by default. I mean, he was the only healthy guy essentially that we had for the most part to go play that game and run our offense with. And, he had a great run in that game, got tackled at the 3. We still couldn't punch it in. If we score a touchdown there, that game, we may end up winning that game 7-3 against Army up there last year with the way our defense was playing in that contest. For this offense to work, the quarterback's got to be the driver. And we have seen at times Ty Levitai be able to do a lot of the things you're looking for. I mean, go back and look at our games against Houston, SMU, and Cincinnati. I mean, we're right there in the fourth quarter in all of those football games. So we know what it can look like. Trying to get that to be consistent has been our biggest problem so far this year. The movie looks the part at times, but the consistency that we've enjoyed in the past is just not there right now.
Pete, I believe Ty, did he hurt his neck in that Notre Dame game? How's he doing?
He's fine. He's going to play. He'll play coming up on Saturday. So he's really, as any quarterback in the Navy offense does, he's taken some abuse physically this year. So it's been baptism by fire, learning the offense for him and Xavier both. So that's the nature of the offense, though. They know that when you're the quarterback in the triple option, you're going to take a lot of physical contact, but he'll be ready to go coming up on Saturday.
And Pete, it seemed like that when you had the great talent of like a kid like Malcolm Perry, who we loved and respected so much, it seemed like he was there for 10 years. We need to check to see like a few extra years of eligibility for him. I mean, that's how great of a player, a very special player he was for you guys.
Without question. And he was the kind of guy that at any point could turn a broken play into a big play. You go back and look at a lot of his touchdowns from 2019. We drop back the throw, pressure comes, boom. He, darts it right up the middle, and all of a sudden he's gone 70 yards on you. Or he goes 92 yards on you. I mean, he had some legendary touchdown runs for us. I mean, he's a guy that we played at, slot back, quarterback during the course of his career there. And 2,000-yard rusher in 2019, ran for over 300 yards in the Army game. Just a tremendous talent. Obviously, got released this week by the Patriots. He hadn't been healthy this year, hadn't been able to get on the field. So hopefully he'll be able to catch on with somebody else. Maybe even can get back with New England at some point. But that just goes to show you. I mean, he's an NFL caliber talent. Keenan Reynolds was an NFL caliber talent. Got a chance with multiple teams in the National Football League. So when you have an NFL talent at that position, it's a game changer for the triple option. And that's why both of those guys were able to get us one of these tying the school record, because they're very special players.
No doubt about it. Pete, I don't know if you heard Donnie Kirkpatrick's press conference. He's our offensive coordinator here. I thought he had the line of the week. when he mentioned Diego Fuego. And, Donnie mentioned that it seems like Fuego was playing at Navy when he was in high school.
Yeah.
And I want to say Donnie's about 65 years old. So I thought that was the line of the week. And it really does seem like he's been there for one of those guys. He's been there for 10 years. To me, when I watch Navy on defense, it all starts with him. I see him as an NFL caliber linebacker. What are your thoughts on Fuego? And, do you see him possibly playing in the NFL?
I do, Matt. I think he's going to have a chance. I mean, we've had NFL scouts come through some of our games this year. Ultimately, for him at the NFL level, what can he do from a coverage standpoint as a linebacker? The run part, he's got that. I mean, the kid's tough as nails. I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. And you don't get on the field at Navy as a freshman unless you got something different. That's just because of what happens to you during plebe summer. You lose some weight. You're obviously getting indoctrinated into what life is like at the Naval Academy. It's very tough for young players. But he's a guy that from the moment he walked on campus, Coach Niumatalolo's talked about the kind of player that he was going to be. Kenny's proven to be absolutely 100% right about him. Kid plays with an incredible motor and is the leader unquestionably of that defense for Brian Newberry. And Brian, I think if you take a deep dive into our numbers this year defensively, and since Brian's been there, Brian's one of the bright defensive minds in the game, and having a guy like that to really quarterback his defense like that, especially with Kevin Brennan, our safety, going out. It's been fun to watch him as a player be not only consistent every year, but to get better every year and play the game at such a high level right now.
Pete, looking at the game, to me, from East Carolina standpoint, almost from an intangible standpoint, if I was a betting man looking at this game from the outside with a non-partial bias, I would scream this is upset. Take Navy in the points. East Carolina just got bowl eligible for the first time in 7 years. Emotional win on the road in Memphis. We had guys doing backflips. Cincinnati next week in Greenville, live on ABC. Everybody's already talking about the Cincinnati game. You got to go to Navy Marine Corps Stadium on Senior Day for the cadets to walk. I don't know how many seniors you guys have, but nonetheless, it'll be Senior Day. And on top of all that, historically, we've beaten Navy one time ever, and it was 10 years ago, by the way, back in 2011. So to me, and by the way, you guys are coming off an off week, an extra week to prepare for the Pirates. So this game just sits up, if I was just looking at it from an outsider standpoint, is take Navy in the points.
Kyle, I mean, if you go look at our record on Senior Day, the only time we've lost since 2003 was because of the pandemic. I mean, that was the only time we've lost on Senior Day since 2003. So it's a special day to those seniors, but it's a special day to all the underclassmen who – the best way to describe it is they feel a sense of urgency to send those seniors out in a winning way at Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium. It's an incredible part of the brotherhood that, being a part of the program, you understand. Some of these kids started at NAPS, which is the prep school together, and they know how tough it's been each year in that growth process, and that bond just, brings you together even closer. And I think there's a sense of, we've got to play even harder for those seniors. And we're playing a lot of kids right now that have FR and SO next to their name. We're an incredibly young team, but they respect the heck out of the senior leadership. And those kids seem to find a way to play hard. I understand your thought process there. I think your head coach and the culture that he's established, though, changes the game for East Carolina. With previous East Carolina teams, if this had happened, I would probably agree with you 100%. But I trust that guy that's coaching that team. And I think it's going to be a close game because I think both teams are good enough defensively that this game is going to stay close. But, ultimately, if you look at what we've done this year, SMU, Houston, Cincinnati, all to a touchdown game. finally broke through in the fourth quarter against, UCF. They didn't have Dylan Gabriel, which, makes them a different team. But that's also the toughest 7-game stretch maybe in the history of Navy football. In all the years we've been playing football, that 7-game stretch was as tough as it could possibly be with the quality opponents that we've had and how tough the American is. And, winning is tough as it is. We're this close to winning 3 more games in that time, including ruining Cincinnati's dream if we'd have played a little bit better in that third quarter when they finally were able to get control of the game a little bit. But, if we handle the end of the first half differently in that third quarter, maybe we're not having the arguments on Tuesday night when the CFP gets announced about Cincinnati. But to their credit, they made enough plays to win the game, and that's what they're doing right now. But that's what we know about the American. You guys have, been covering this team from the first day they stepped foot in that league. You know how tough it is. If you don't play good football for 4 quarters, you can't win. And in all those games, we had crippling turnovers in our own territory that led to our demise in those games.
Pete, you talk about the defenses in this matchup, and we'll certainly dive more into that here in just a moment. But earlier this season, talk about a very strange situation in which Ivan Jasper was fired and then rehired.
Yeah, I mean, he essentially, he never lost his job. Things. I think when you have a program that's got so much pride from the administration all the way on down, emotions get high. And I think in that case, that was just a case of very competitive people getting emotional after a loss to one of our arch rivals. We did not have Ty Levitai playing quarterback in that game. He was out. He didn't play in that game. And when you lose to one of your arch rivals like that in Service Academy football, the emotions tend to run high with everybody. The great thing is those men who are all very successful at what they do got in a room, sat down, talked about it, and made sound judgments on behalf of the football program that kept Ivan part of the football program, because that guy has never failed us when it comes to getting a quarterback ready to play in the triple option era. And that's what I think, why he's still here. And clearly, when you've had as much success as this group as a coaching staff has had, you kind of earn the right, I think, to correct the problems, to correct the mistakes, to go searching for the answers, because you've had the answers to all the questions to the test every year in this offense through the triple option era. So I think a lot of very talented men, very prideful men, got in a room, had an adult conversation about things, and came to a very, very adult decision in the end there.
And Pete, one of the things that I wanted to mention to folks is I've been hearing that argument all week, and I'm glad that that was mentioned again by Kyle. The overlooking, I've heard sandwich, a trap game. I've heard national media, our local media talk about that. We've only beat Navy one time. There are a lot of kids that have been blown out over the years by Navy. They know it very well. You have a coaching staff with East Carolina that they always have. One of the things I love about Houston, he always has his teams prepared. Even when they were not good, they were still prepared. I think it's a discredit to Navy in other words, if East Carolina loses, it's because of we played bad or we didn't show up. The bottom line is Navy is a good football program, great coaching. Not just saying that, Pete, because I've been telling people that all week that say that mess. I think it comes down to Navy will be the better football team if they win on Saturday, not that East Carolina is overlooking, not that East Carolina is showing up flat, that they won a big game on emotion. You got to give credit to Navy because Navy's beat us a lot. They've owned us, and a lot of teams have owned us of late, but especially Navy, even when we're winning and had good years, Navy still owned us. So I hope that Pirate Nation will understand that just because if Navy wins on Saturday, it's not because the Pirates played bad. It may just be because Navy is a good football team, and don't look at their record.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the days of Dwayne Harris and Zay Jones running around and Navy putting up a lot of points against those East Carolina teams. I will say this. The Temple game was probably a trap game. East Carolina handled that with flying colors. I'll never forget, I was listening to the postgame show. I listened to the entire postgame show after the App State game. And just about every East Carolina fan was ready to replace Holton Ahlers at quarterback, fire the coaching staff. We stink. We're never going to be any good. We can't beat App State. We get blown out by App State. And what a turnaround it's been, quite frankly, since that game. Give App State credit. They're a great football program. They'd fit right in the American. If they showed up in our league, they'd compete with everybody. So there was no shame in losing to App State, but that showed you still what Mike was up against in terms of the fan base, like you're talking about. It got to the point where the fan base is just used to the doomsday scenario, and it's coming at some point. Oh, well, we just lost to App State. Here it comes again. So I just think what Mike has done is change the mindset where that doesn't even come into play. People know how good we are and have been in the league. I mean, we challenged for division championships, made an AAC championship game. So they know our kids are going to play hard for 60 minutes. And, like I said, SMU, Houston, Cincinnati needed 4 quarters to beat us in all those games. But if somehow we win, I don't think it's going to be, because East Carolina wasn't focused on the game, because I just don't think the coaching staff and the on-field leaders for that team that you're seeing develop with that club, I just don't think they're going to let that happen. It'll be because Navy will have earned it in a league as we've seen every game. Memphis, 1-point game for you guys. Houston, overtime game for you guys. That's just the nature of the American. Tulsa, Tulsa's on the goal line, get ready to beat Cincinnati if they can figure out how to get 1 yard. 1 yard! Just 1 yard! They couldn't figure out, and they've got one of the best running games at times in the country. So it's that just goes to show you how deep this league is with some of the games that everybody's played. Davis Brin throws for over 400 yards up at Ohio State. It's just this league's got people in it. It's got good teams in it. And if you lose to one of them, there's really no shame in losing to them because of how deep the league is.
Yeah, Pete. And I think to your point about, the fan base was very upset after the App State game. When you look at the turning point for Mike Houston in East Carolina, look no further than the fourth quarter at Marshall. We were 0-2 at that point. We were down going into that fourth quarter and had a major turnaround. And we were able to pull that game out on the road in Huntington and get that win. That sort of set the tone for the rest of the year. Had we gone 0-3 that night, I think things could have been drastically different for Mike Houston and for the entire team for the rest of the season. So I think to your point, that was the turning point without question. And then, also the other thing I wanted to mention to you is when you think about this game this weekend, this might be the fastest game in the history of college football. You're talking about 2 ball control teams, 2 coaches who love to run the ball. We find ourselves constantly in situations where we're going for it on 4th down, it seems like, more than we ever have. And Navy, when you look at Navy, you're always in 4-down territory, in my opinion. So this could be a very quick game on Saturday. Notre
Dame game was 2 hours, 59 minutes. Funny, Joe Miller, my color analyst, and I were talking on our It's College Football podcast about that that very fact today, and that 2 hours and 59 minutes could be in jeopardy with these 2 games, with these 2 teams coming up on Saturday. Let's face it. Look, you got a guy in Keaton Mitchell who's 9th in the country in yards per carry. He's 20th in the country in rushing yardage so far this year. You have a great combination now at that position that has developed. So you've got a real 2-headed monster there. So there's no drop-off when either one of those guys is out of the game. So you're able to run the ball very efficiently. The offensive line, tons better, great development under Mike and his staff here. And you can't run the ball the way they are unless your offensive line is dominating. And you really had to change the offensive lineman you were recruiting because you're playing a lot of spread. That means your guys got to be athletic, light on their feet, pass blocking all the time. Now you got a road grade. That's a different mindset. Those kids have bought in and they've been able to do that. And because you don't run for 7.1 yards a carry in our league without having people up front that can block. And that's the beauty of what Mike has done from a philosophy standpoint. He's gotten the kids to get tougher. This program needed to get tougher. They didn't have enough tough guys. When somebody's putting 76 points on you, somebody has to put their hand in the dirt, their foot on the ground, and say, enough is enough. We can't allow people to come into, Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium and do those kind of things. And Navy in back-to-back trips goes 76 and 66. So it takes a coach and it takes a staff to go find kids that are willing to put that hand in the dirt, their foot in the ground, and say enough is enough. And that's what this group has done over the last year and a half, where you could really see everything starting to change. When Mitchell got in a game, when he got in games last year, you could, and even in the game against Navy, he had a big run. You could tell that cat was different. And they've capitalized on that. They've expanded on that. And obviously the results, because this is a results-oriented business, the results have clearly changed for East Carolina's favor in that regard.
No question about it. Another thing, Pete, is with the depth that Houston is building a foundation. It's like a house. You have to have a foundation. If you look at the defensive line was an absolute, the first string, we had good guys, but they're playing a million snaps for the first. We had a first string and that's it. And you could make an argument like that and I know, Matt, you always talk about the number of scholarships. What was it, 60? We only had like 60 some players, 65. Bubba's the numbers guy and Matt too. It was depressing, the number of scholarships that players we had. The facilities, just everything was abysmal, way below our standards. And he's come in, done a nice job, despite, I think, that unfair criticism by the fans. I know we have a comment up there about that, but sometimes our fans can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And I think that there's been unfair criticism, especially with Houston. If you know anything about what he's done at every place and what he was already doing, even though it didn't show up in the record book, the casual fan just really disappointed with our fans.
Dave, we had a lot of fans that were frustrated because of Scotty Montgomery and because of Jeff Confer, and frustration builds frustration. The fans that were frustrated because they weren't seeing the turnaround fast enough. We knew it was coming. If you knew college football and you knew Mike Houston's background, you could see it coming if you know what you're looking at. The problem is 90%, it's not just East Carolina. 90% of college football fans don't have a damn clue what they're looking at. They don't know. That's one. The more and more I'm around people, the casual college football fan, they don't know crap about the game of college football, to be honest, and how things work, and building depth and seeing improvement. So I would take it easy on our fan base. They're coming around now. That win number 6, all of a sudden, we're a good football team. You had to get to that point for some people to finally get it. Well, once they saw that 6th win, then they're like, oh, yeah, they are better. So, I know you're hard on our fan base a lot, but what I want is for those fans that have been bitching, like Scotty Montgomery's still here, show up for the Cincinnati game. Let's pack Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium and sell it out like we used to.
Kyle, you bring up a great point. People see uniform. They don't necessarily see what's happening with the team. They see the uniform, and that's really it. They root for the uniform. And, getting fans to educate themselves on more than just the uniform, because as Matt knows, Matt played one of the most successful eras in the history of East Carolina football. So there is a blueprint there. There is a blueprint there. But you look right now at, guys like Hickman, their linebacking core, and he's probably not going to win it because probably one of the kids from Cincinnati will. But there's no question in my mind that when they discuss Defensive Player of the Year in the American Athletic Conference, Jaquan McMillan is going to be part of the conversation. The young man is just doing things on the football field that defensively, a guy in his position, he's affecting the game in so many different ways, tackling, turning people over. I mean, he's got 5 interceptions on the year. And, there was a time that, like I said, when Navy was putting up all those points, East Carolina just didn't have that kind of personnel on the field. And now you got 12 guys that have sacks, at least a half a sack on this team. You've got a linebacking core that really knows what they're doing, that tackles well right now. And, like I said, I think Jaquan's had as good a year individually as any player in the American Athletic Conference defensively. And it's been a long time since you could talk about an East Carolina defense with that kind of depth and production on it. I mean, everybody's got to put 11 players out there. Just because you're a player out there doesn't necessarily mean you're productive. Somebody's got to go out on the field. You got to play 11 on 11. But it's night and day right now. And, only thing that changes fans' mentality is wins. And as you all will see, and look, I can tell you, I've already heard East Carolina fans calling into some national shows on Sirius XM. Hey, East Carolina Pirates are coming. They've got 6 wins. We're coming back and things of that nature. So as you mentioned, Kyle, the people are coming back to the bandwagon. You're going to have to make some room for them because, as you mentioned, when somebody gets to a bowl game, everybody wants to be a part of it from a fan base perspective.
Yeah, that's a great point, Pete. And, when you look at the things Mike Houston has done to turn this program around, maybe the most important, and he's done a lot of good things, possibly the most important thing he's done was to hire Blake Harrell as a defensive coordinator because, obviously we've brought in some good personnel, and Jaquan McMillan, as you mentioned, he's having a tremendous season. He shows up every week. But the scheme, we've finally found a scheme that seems to work at East Carolina. It's aggressive, it's attacking, it's blitzing, it's multiple. And this scheme really seems to fit what we need to do here. And it allows guys like McMillan to play free and just go out and make plays. So I think that's a great point. So Blake Harrell just doing a tremendous job here.
Matt, why sit back and let people dictate to you? The only chance defenses have to survive in college football these days with the way the rules are, helping the offense and all these tempo offenses that try to run 85 plays and things of that nature. Why sit back and just hope the other team makes a mistake? Why let them dictate to you? Your only chance to win is to be aggressive. And that's what you'll notice about our defense. Our defense is an attacking style defense. We used to basically kind of sit back for the most part. We'd blitz once in a while, but we'd sit back and if you moved it between the 20s, okay. If we held you to a field goal in the red zone, we were fine with that because we knew our offense was going to go down and get 7 at the other end. But our defense has now changed to an attacking style under Brian Newberry because the only chance you have in college football to get stops is to try and be aggressive, try to turn people over. And I think to your point about how aggressive that attacking style is, look at the amount of turnovers they're causing. And when you turn people over, that's less possessions for them, more possessions for you. Thus, in theory, analytically, it gives you a greater chance to win the football game when you take the ball out of their hands. So I think it's great. I mean, why sit back and let other teams dictate to you? Go find some Jimmys and Joes and go try to go get after people.
Made a good
Pete,
point.
I believe Blake Harrell replaced Newberry at Kennesaw State. Isn't that correct?
I think so. Yes.
So
good lineage in that Kennesaw tree, man. Brian Bohannon, former Navy assistant, running a triple down there, and I'm telling you, all these guys that have worked with Brian have been unbelievable. The guys he's brought up to our staff, some of them, he coached with at Elon, stuff like that. I mean, those guys have been fantastic. I mean, they have just great teachers of the game, and no question, that's why our defense, analytically and in philosophy, has gotten better here at Navy. No doubt about it.
Pete, one more thing I had, and this is a question that I've been wanting to ask you for a while, actually. Looking over your depth chart, is Rusty still in the Navy?
Is who?
Rusty?
Who's that?
He's the this is an inside joke, Pete. It is an inside joke. We Christmas vacation and Bubba's make the jokes back and forth, particularly this time of year, quoting different lines from Christmas Vacation. And a little known line from Christmas Vacation, Ed Edna asked Clark Griswold, "Is Rusty still in the Navy?"
Yeah,
and I
remember that.
I was going to get that in at some point during the interview.
Aunt Bethany, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get your characters.
Yes, Bethany. I don't know why I said Ed Edna. Who the hell's Ed Edna? But
That's the original Vacation. Oh my God,
that's original. That's right. She died in the first Vacation movie. Right. They strapped her to the top of the car. Yes, Aunt Bethany. Yes, correct.
If you're going to give Pete a hard time, at least get your characters right and the right vacation in that.
Well.
Speaking of vacations, how you like this segue, Pete? We have Brian Pays. Pete Pays, he's asking a question we asked you in the green room. So let's go ahead and get that up there. Do you think we end up back in Annapolis at the Military Bowl?
As I said earlier in the show, I think there is a better than average chance, I'll just say that they end up in the Military Bowl based on some intel, that I've heard. I think that would be a very popular choice. For the Military Bowl, geographically located in a great spot, easy travel for fans from East Carolina to come up, to the DC and Annapolis area to be a part of it. So I don't think there's any question. East Carolina has always been well supported in the games in Annapolis as it is. You see a lot of purple and gold in that far right corners. We're looking from the press box. So I think right now you could tell East Carolina fans are going anywhere for a bowl game. They'll figure out a way to get there. Send them to the Bahamas Bowl or somewhere like that. They're going to find a way to get there at this point because they've just been so hungry to have some football success. And it's such a great fan base. It's a passionate fan base, just like we talked about earlier. I mean, any passionate fan base, when they lose games, they're going to be angry. They're going to want, change. They're going to want, they're going to want to be, sold. Hey, show me that you all are turning the corner. Don't tell me you're turning the corner. Show me you're turning the corner. And that's what Mike has done with the program. So I think no matter where they end up in a bowl game, I think the Military would certainly be high on that list, though. So if you're thinking about plans for December, that's probably a way to do it. And the good thing is that's a game you can drive to, quite frankly. You don't even need airfare. You can drive to that game. And I think that helps get more fans to a bowl game. Sometimes teams are playing so far away. Like you get some teams on the East Coast that are playing out in Boise in the Potato Bowl. I mean, they look in the stands. There's like 2,500 people and some snowballs there that time of the year. But, geographically, it'd be a great fit for East Carolina and obviously a stadium and, turf they're very familiar with.
They've never been up to Annapolis for a game. Obviously, I think a lot of people stay at D.C. for the Military Bowl. But if you wanted to stay in Annapolis, Maryland, how is the hotel situation there? How's the restaurant situation there? What is there to do in Annapolis without going over to D.C.?
Plenty. I mean, we got more hotels you can take a stick at in the Annapolis area. If you want to, even if you wanted to fly in, you could, BWI's 30 minutes from the stadium. Plenty of hotels in the BWI district. You probably find them a little cheaper. Annapolis a little cheaper than, in DC itself, where the teams I think get put up for the Military Bowl. So there's plenty of lodging, plenty of restaurants downtown Annapolis by the city dock. The Military Bowl has a great parade as well. As part of the Military Bowl festivities in downtown Annapolis, up the historic streets of Annapolis. So there's plenty for that time of year. Every now and then you catch some decent weather. I mean, you might catch temperatures in the 50s or around 60 degrees sometimes in December. Knock on wood, we're always hopeful for that. I mean, today it was 71 up here in the DC area. So we'll take that in November. We went to Notre Dame, 2 weeks ago, and we looked at the original forecast, man. I got gloves, I got jackets in the bag and everything like that. It's like 65 degrees and the sun's beating into the press box like we're getting sunburn on our forehead. So, we get pretty lucky sometimes in December. I know there was one Military Bowl. I think it was Virginia Tech and might have been Virginia Tech Marshall. I think it was. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal that day. It's Virginia Tech Cincinnati, ironically. Virginia Tech Cincinnati, old Metro Conference rivals. It was like 20 degrees other than that, we've actually had some decent weather for the Military Bowl, and hopefully, if you guys get selected there, it'll work out for you guys coming up in December.
Hey,
Yeah,
what's
I
the
remember watching that game between Virginia Tech and Cincinnati. I believe that was the day that Shane Beamer, South Carolina head coach, was in the acting head coach role for his father.
Yeah. And like I said, if Tech gets bowl eligible, I know the Military Bowl loves Virginia Tech. So they've been here multiple times. They bring people, and I could see them making a big push for Virginia or Virginia Tech. Virginia, we played Virginia here. We beat Virginia one year, 49-7. They ran the opening kickoff back, and then we scored 49 straight to win the game. So Virginia's been here before as well. So you could get one of those Commonwealth teams as a matchup in the Military Bowl.
I would love Virginia Tech. I'll tell you, one of the weakest moves I've ever seen in college football is when their athletic director decided not to play East Carolina anymore. I mean, to me, that was just such a gutless, weak move. And I would personally love to get another crack at Virginia Tech, so I'd welcome that.
Yeah, they have
the question to me is whether Virginia Tech, they didn't go to a bowl game last year, and that streak meant a lot to them. Even though Fuente's not coaching now, they've got an interim staff. Ironically, the guy, J.C. Price, their interim coach, he played high school football literally 20 minutes down the road from where I live here in Maryland at Northern High School. I believe they would accept an invitation if they get to 6. So, like I said, I think that would be I could definitely see that matchup coming up, because there'd be a lot of people that would show up for that game, especially in purple and gold. I know that.
Oh, no doubt. They've got an identity crisis we were talking about before, where they think that their national championship team, it's just not there for many reasons. Like we're talking about, the Jimmies and Joes are not getting anymore. But they used to be, one of the blue collar teams. They always played us, and it was a great rivalry, friendly thing. And now they have a fan base, and obviously during the Scotty Montgomery era, where we were so bad, I understand, but we've beat them so many times. But they said they don't, the ACC attitude of, well, if we lose to them, we're supposed to beat them. If we lose to them, then, it's like they feel like they can't get anything out of it. It just comes down to, I think that they're unfortunately way too arrogant for the fact they haven't been good, and as far as in their eyes, in like 20 years.
Well, I mean, look, like I said, Frank, in the late 90s, early 2000s, they were consistent 9-10. Vic got them to 11. Vic got them to the Sugar Bowl against Florida State. And so they tasted that. They know what that's like. But, Justin won 10 games his first 2 years there at Virginia Tech. And you thought, okay, it's getting back on the rails a little bit. But when you don't have talent in this sport right now at the most important position, quarterback, running back, has been hard for them to consistently find people. Think about their great teams, through the years with Beamer, the Antonio Freemans of the world at wide receiver. They used to have terrific core of wide receivers through the years. They've just been unable to find a depth of skill guys for whatever reason. And like I said, they used to own Hampton Roads. They own the 757. They had that long streak against Virginia. When you have that long streak against Virginia, you own the 757. And then, wait a minute, Alabama said, hey, wait a minute, we can get into Oscar Smith and Phoebus and Hampton, Kickitan, and all those schools down there in the 757. I mean, I remember I broadcasted Michael Vick's first ever high school game when I was working radio down there in Norfolk. Everybody knew then Michael Vick was going to be a star at the then Ferguson High School, which then closed while he was in school. And they obviously opened up the new school at Warwick for Tommy Riemann. But everybody knew then Michael was the special talent. It was just a matter of, would he grow a little more? I mean, he's like 5'5" or 5'6" when he was a freshman at playing quarterback. But you knew even then when he was playing against Ronald Curry and those teams down there, I mean, it was an unbelievable time of high school football down there. Antoine Womack at Phoebus that went to UVA. Ronald Curry's still the greatest high school talent I've ever seen. State semifinal game, he scored in every way imaginable. Kickoff return, punt return, interception return, pass, rush. He did it all. But but Vic was probably in that class with him and Antoine Womack and those guys at that time. So you knew he was a different player. And when Dean Smith said Curry could go do both, that's why he ends up at North Carolina. But Womack ended up at Virginia, and Michael ends up at Virginia Tech. And it was maybe the greatest era of Virginia Tech football they've ever had. So they've been desperate to get back to that level. I think they can, but it's going to take a special coach and a special staff to get that state back in, good graces at Virginia Tech and get those kids to reconsider Tech, because everybody else is coming in and poaching that area. And don't look now, but Ricky Ronnie has actually had a good last month at Old Dominion. And I'm not saying the top kids are going to go to ODU, but those second level kids now, with ODU not playing last year, they took a risk. That could have killed their football program not playing last year. But you got to give Ricky Ronnie a lot of credit. He's done a heck of a job there over the last month. They've been a much better football team. And so they're now going to be a factor even for those second level kids that might have considered Tech and other people. But a kid may say, hey, I can go to ODU and play right away, stay here at home. I'm going to do that. Because Coach Ronnie, of course, former offensive coordinator at Penn State, probably going to be a guy that can help develop some skilled guys there at Old Dominion. So there's a lot of factors that Virginia Tech would be up against, before they really get back into that 10, 11 win type football in the ACC.
You mentioned Ricky Ronnie and ODU. By the way, the greatest name in the history. He should be a NASCAR driver, Ricky Ronnie.
No doubt.
But I was thinking, I was thinking he'd do a good job at ODU. ODU's turning it around the second half of the year. Very short-sighted on the part of the American not to take ODU or App State over Charlotte. I just wanted to get that out of there because we've mentioned both App State and ODU during this podcast. And I think both those schools would have been better picks than Charlotte.
But here's the thing, though, Kyle, though. I don't know how aggressive those teams were at contacting the American, because I think that's part of it. And
ODU was.
Charlotte brings you look at the media markets of the American, though. The media markets in the American with the new ones, outside of, ironically, Greenville. Greenville's the lowest media market in the league. Everybody else is like top 58 or higher. Tulsa was 58. Charlotte's in the 30s. And I know Boone is like our, suburb of Charlotte. So, I mean, a lot of it, and again, for schools like Navy especially, the Texas schools mean everything, because we have every year we have between 20 and 30 kids from Texas. So we were going to support any membership probably that included Texas teams, with Houston leaving the league. So that, you look at the media markets, you got two teams now that are essentially in the Dallas market with North Texas and SMU. So if SMU eventually leaves, you still got that Dallas market covered there. So, and who doesn't want to go to Boca Raton at any point? That's a nice road trip. So if ECU's ever at Boca Raton against FAU, I would encourage you guys to get in the car and head down south there to beautiful Boca Raton, Florida, the home of the Owls. We're the official league of the Owls right now in the American Athletic Conference.
Hey,
does media market matter when nobody gives a damn about the school? I mean, nobody cares about Charlotte.
But Kyle, it does when you're trying to talk to ESPN and say, hey, we are in these markets with these populations. So East Carolina can then go to their advertisers. East Carolina or ESPN can go to their advertisers at that point and say, look, we're going to put your product in front of this many households in these markets. And I think it makes a huge difference. Do you know what the number one football market is every week in college football?
Probably Alabama, but
Birmingham is number one. It's like market size 43, but the fact that you could, when you're buying advertising from agencies,
Alabama and Auburn, not UAB.
I know, but when you're buying advertising from agencies, they want to know how many households are you potentially exposing my ad to? So they can say, we're in the Philadelphia market with Temple. We're in the Baltimore and DC market with Navy. Dallas is a top 10 market. So Houston with Rice, smaller alumni base, but Houston, top 6 market, media-wise. So when ESPN can go to their advertisers and say, hey, we're going to put you in front of this many million people each and every weekend, it's a no-brainer from a sales standpoint for your TV partner. That's how you end up getting more money from your TV partner. And that's why the Americans' money dwarfs all of these other G5 leagues, the Sun Belt, Conference USA, the MAC, all of them. The Americans not playing on Tuesday night. Okay.
Well, my question for you, Pete, about the teams we brought in for Conference USA, like Charlotte and North Texas and UAB, why didn't it work for Conference USA? They're on Facebook and Stadium and C-SPAN 2 and the Weather Channel and VH1 Classic.
That's right.
And,
you know why? Because you got Mike Oresco. Mike Oresco, former TV executive, understands how this game is played. And when you have leadership at the top of your league like that, he was put in a tough spot. And I thought he recovered pretty much as well as he could in that situation. He understands the TV game as well as any commissioner, in the G5, certainly. And he could easily be a commissioner in one of the P5 leagues with his knowledge of how this college football business works. So, again, he's about trying to make his league the most money. And the results speak for themselves. The Americans' TV contract, the money that's divided up amongst the programs, dwarfs any of these other leagues. And like you said, we're not on Stadium. We're not on. Look, best game in Conference USA was UAB Marshall. Huge game. It was on Facebook Live. That's it. It was on Facebook Live. Their best game of the season was on Facebook Live. So, you're not going to see Cincinnati and Houston on Facebook Live. You're not going to see Cincinnati and SMU Saturday on Facebook Live. You're not going to see Navy and ECU on Facebook Live. You're not going to see us on Flow. We're on the ESPN family of networks. We're on CBS Sports Network. Our game's on CBS Sports Network on Saturday with the great John Sadak doing the play-by-play on TV. So that's what this is all about. It's about having a better TV contract so your schools end up cashing a big check. Why do you think Vanderbilt stays in the SEC? Because they want that $46 million check at the end of the season.
Hey, Pete.
I agree. Oresco's a great commissioner and overall makes good decisions. I think the media market thing is way overrated. I think there's an argument to be made about media markets to a point, but I think sometimes it's very overrated. I'll give you an example. Thursday night back in September, Marshall and App State had over 1 million viewers. You tell me one Charlotte football game that's had over 1 million viewers. It ain't happened and ain't never going to happen.
Will when they play somebody in the American, I bet.
Hey, Pete, I'm just disappointed. You're from the DMV. I thought for sure that you're going to say American games, we should be on home team sports.
NBC Sports Washington now here in D.C. I actually broadcasted a lacrosse game years ago on Home Team Sports, the channel you cheer for, Home Team Sports. Yeah, I remember that jingle. Home team sports. Look, it's our market. We're blessed here to a certain extent, and we're cursed here. We got so many professional teams that the college teams, and I include the University of Maryland. That sometimes we all kind of get lost in the shuffle of all the professional sports that happen here. We're all clearly in the shadow of the Washington football team, the Ravens, and stuff like that here in this market. But you got some football programs like the HBCU schools, Morgan State, Howard, their football programs barely draw a peep in the area just because, the coverage is so slanted toward the pro teams. And, you look at some of the markets, even in the American, good news for Memphis is the only game in town there at the Liberty Bowl. And, we've got a couple of teams like that, but for the most part, we all share, markets with professional teams. Some of our teams have used the professional stadium to play in. So, again, I know we can argue optics. Optics tell you App State. Optics tell you Coastal Carolina. but market size and dollars to advertisers, it's all about how many people. And that's why in any non-traditional college market, like the Birminghams and places like that where people are obsessed with it, Baton Rouge, down in Clemson, South Carolina, obviously, places like that. The only way you get dollars from ad agencies is to how many people can you put my product in front of? And that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah, I go back to ODU though. 1.7 million people in the I call it the Tidewater because I'm from down east, but 1.7 million people in the Tidewater area, no pro teams.
Transient area, because I did radio down there for 2.5 years. Transient area, and not a ton of major sponsorship dollars. You've got potential with some shipbuilders down there and a couple of other companies, but otherwise you're not talking about a huge area from a business sponsorship standpoint. And that's one of the things that holds that area back eventually, I think, from eventually moving up from a minor league city, which they've been a great minor league city. People used to come out in droves for the old East Coast Hockey League games there with the Admirals. Then they bumped up to the AHL, and it was like, this isn't quite the same thing. And where are the Richmond Renegades? We want to play the Richmond Renegades, and we want to have a fight in the middle of the second period, so the fans can go crazy and stuff like that. And that rivalry they used to have in the ECHL, but that's kind of what they've been. They've always been a minor league sports city, obviously a AAA baseball team down there. So I would love to see someone take a chance there. I just don't know if there's enough business, sponsorship, large, business to support that kind of effort down there in the Hampton Roads area.
Well, go 49ers.
No, you want to say go Kyle, look, but think about this. Maybe it's more wins. It's more wins for East Carolina, Kyle.
The idea that we have to play Charlotte actually sickens me. It really does. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Charlotte, North Texas, Rice, and this is the dilemma that we find ourselves in when we're in this new American looking forward, right? We all need to maximize our revenue. Pete, I think to your point about TV dollars, yeah, we're all looking to make as much money as possible, which is great. We need to do that. We don't have a wealth of resources at our disposal out in East Carolina. At the same time, from a fan perspective, we'd much rather go play at App State, a program like that than going into these stadiums like UAB and Rice, North Texas, where you just see, a lot of steel everywhere, really, more than anything, more than fans in the seats, just empty stadiums. So that's the dilemma we're in. We have to maximize our revenue. So we really have, what choice do you really have?
No, and think about this. The pandemic really helped the Sun Belt because the Sun Belt got on TV, on network TV, more than it's ever been before. More people got to see Coastal. More people got to see App State. More people got to see Louisiana. And we got to see the quality of the football. Question for all those programs now is, how do they maintain it? Can you continue to maintain it the way Lafayette and App State have? That's the challenge for Coastal, especially if Jamie ends up, going somewhere else. Can you maintain that cycle of good football that you've established within that league right now? So ironically, if it's one thing that came out of the pandemic was that the Sun Belt ended up on TV all the time. Think about the numbers. The numbers for that BYU Coastal game were crazy. And I understand a lot of it's because of, look, I'm telling you, the BYU fan base and media, unbelievable. I did more interviews that week than I've ever done in my life with all of the different outlets. Their broadcasters did not leave the press box until 2 a.m. That's how long their post game went. That's how obsessive that fan base is. And that's why they ended up going to the Big 12, because they know there's going to be a buy-in from their people. Ultimately, all of us in the G5, at some point, as much as we don't want it, I think at some point we may be headed for playing our own playoff somewhere down the road, especially if this new proposal that, the shrinking of the rule book for the Power 5 schools that they're talking about, and philosophy, it's going to be very interesting to see where it leaves the rest of college athletics. Those 64 or 70 teams, however many it ends up, it's going to be interesting to see where it leaves the rest of us and what we're competing for out there in the end. I mean, the best thing for us is there's still only 130 teams playing Division I football. So, as long as those numbers stay where they are, we've got a chance. Ultimately, what it's going to look like here 5-6 years from now when they redo this playoff, I'll be interested to see where we are with the teams that are in the G5 right now.
Pete, one of the things that bothers me is the very fact that people that talk about how much they love college football, meaning the decision makers, they don't love college football. If they really love college football, they would give the customers what they want. They would actually take the college basketball model of it's okay if a Cinderella team wins the national championship, but not to them. It would actually be more money. It's more content for ESPN and ABC. And so their arguments make absolutely no sense. It just frustrates me as somebody that really loves college football. And you know what? Every year, the Shield, the NFL is the number one sport in America. Number two is college football. If they ever got their act together, they could have the best sport in the whole country being college football. But the powers that be are so short-sighted, narrow-minded, they have no clue what the customers really want.
Question is the customer in Greenville, North Carolina, or Annapolis, Maryland, different, or how different is that customer from the one in Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Baton Rouge, College Station? Because this game, these decision makers, they want a 12-team playoff for years like last year where Texas A&M was on fire at the end of the year and probably would have done some damage in a playoff had it been expanded to 8 or 12 teams. If they expand this playoff, there'll be one seat at the table potentially for a G5 team. But that doesn't mean it's going to go to the American. You could have a Mountain West team that's undefeated. You could have a Sun Belt team that's undefeated. Yes, as customers, as diehard customers of college football like we all are, we know what we want, but this thing is ultimately designed and going to be built for, just like the NCAA basketball tournament. What do we argue about the most? The 9th team from the Big Ten got in, or the 8th team from the Big 12, the 7th or 8th team from the ACC. And they're going to try and protect the big school interests as much as possible. Sure, there'll be some wild cards, and there may be a G5 one seat there for most of us. Now, maybe we have a year every now and then, like a Coastal did last year. BYU is an independent, maybe they get some consideration, but we're still only going to get one seat at the table. We can have this thing at 12, we can have it at 16. They're still only going to give the G5 one seat, if that. I mean, the committee told us that when, they ranked Cincinnati, in the first poll. Yes, well, this is as high as a G5 team has ever started in this thing. But we know you beat Notre Dame, and that's great. But we still don't think you're very good. We think your strength of schedule is terrible, even though you won at Notre Dame. And, oh, wait a minute, look over our shoulder. Hey, Notre Dame's ranked 8th right now in the college football poll. So, that committee tells you everything you need to know what they think about the G5. Right now, you got a team that's undefeated that went on the road, beat a Big Ten team, beat Notre Dame on the road. And right now, they're still going to need a ton of help to get into this Final Four.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with most of what you said there, Pete. But one thing I would say, if we do go to 12 teams, and I say the college football playoff, that one seat at the table would be a huge difference. If you're telling the group of 5 that you're guaranteed one team in the playoff every year, it's a huge difference than what it is now. Particularly for a school like East Carolina, who has a football tradition, if we can get rolling, we can legitimately say, hey, look, you stand just as good of a chance of making the playoffs at East Carolina as you do NC State or UNC, because, yes, we do have to compete with 4 of the conferences for our one spot, but you have a better chance of winning the American in East Carolina than you do winning the ACC in most years at any of the in-state schools in the state.
Look how good Carolina was last year. Look how good I thought State was this year. Wake Forest rolling offensively. Looks like a machine. Up 17 against North Carolina. Loses the game. So there are, Duke's playing poorly right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the market, for a coach coming up at the end of this year as well. I think people are going to call Dave Clawson. We'll see if he, takes any of those jobs that potentially could come his way. But, I think your theory is correct. I think there is a path for East Carolina through the American if the G5 can get that guaranteed seat at the table for a potential playoff at some point. Like you said, a Mountain West team could run the table. Sun Belt team could run the table. A MAC team, could have an impressive season, steal a game from a Big Ten team or something out of conference and get on the radar a little bit. But the American still, in my opinion, has the best path of anybody in the G5. The league promotes itself properly. It's got terrific TV contracts and TV partners. It's got multiple TV partners. So, we'll see ultimately if the new American with Cincinnati and Houston and UCF leaving the league, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are very confident that they can compete and win the American Athletic Conference going forward. And that's certainly a great selling point to any recruit. And let's face it, if you're a good player, you can be in the American. Look at how many kids the American is sent to the pros now. So if you're a good player, look how many P5 kids transfer down into the American. So, that's a great selling point if Mike can make sure that we have a seat at the table when this thing is all done.
Pete, you've been very generous with your time. A couple questions on Facebook as well as YouTube before we wrap this up. We have Conan chiming in. He said, is Navy happy in the new American? This is kind of the direction you were just headed.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, with all those schools in Texas, that helps us from a recruiting standpoint. Like I said, we always have anywhere from 20 to 30 kids from Texas. We can tell them, hey, we're going to be coming back to your state during the course of your 4 years at the Naval Academy. So, we originally thought we were joining the Big East when these conversations started. And boy, what a different picture it is right now in the American. But, we had scheduling relationship with East Carolina before we ever got in the American. So, we played some of these teams. We played Rice. We pounded on Rice. We scored 60. I'll tell you a good story about that. We played Rice down there in Houston. Warm day. I was the sideline reporter at the time. This was in the mid-2000s. Our commandant, second in charge of the entire academy, Matt Clunder, says, hey, come do the push-ups with us. And I'm like, okay. Well, I went over there and we scored the 64th point. So I got to like the 55th push-up. And I'm sitting there on the ground and my arms, it looks like I'm having some kind of convulsive seizure at that point. But I wasn't stopping until I got to the 64th push-up in that situation. So, those teams, we'd already had previous scheduling relationships with a lot of people that are in the American now. We beat North Texas in a game 74-62 in one of the wackiest football games you'll ever see in your life. So, yeah, I think, look, if you're gonna stay relevant, ask BYU how tough it's been to schedule the last couple of years. Look at Army. Army's playing Bucknell, people like that. So, we don't want to be in that business. We know what that business is like. We were an independent. We know how hard it is to put together a schedule. We try to bring our customers a much better product. And, playing an East Carolina team tomorrow at our place, or on Saturday rather, is a much better product than playing some of the teams we were playing at that time in November. So it's been good for us. I know that.
And final thing we have for you, Richard Allsbrook, about a half an hour ago, chimed in on Facebook saying, this is a situation I had not even heard about. He said, any thoughts on what went on at Texas Tech with their radio crew apparently getting suspended? Are officials off limits?
I think what happened there, Brian and his partner, you can look, by nature, You're describing the game to the fans and what's happening. Brian tweeted a picture of a still photograph that shows the player for Texas Tech clearly didn't fumble the ball in that situation. But where they got in trouble, and this is where we've got to be careful as announcers that are doing games. You can't call into you can't call the integrity of the league into question. Where they got in trouble was the color guy basically said, hey, the league does not want Iowa State to lose this game. And that's where they got in trouble. You can't call the integrity of the league into question. We can question a call. We can say, because a lot of times we're talking to people who are driving down the road. Okay. We're trying to describe what's happening to them. We can describe a bad call by describing, hey, the replay shows that player X didn't fumble the football as it was ruled by, the officials on the field and even upheld by replay for some reason. And where they got in trouble was when they called into integrity. In other words, if we were to say, Hank Johns' crew, because gambling is so prevalent now, obviously in our sport, so easy. There's, more states doing it than ever before. If we say Hank Johns' crew clearly has East Carolina, they teased it up to +10 in this game. So they want ECU to get the ball back to score another touchdown. That's the kind of stuff where you get in trouble. And I think that's where they got in trouble when they called the integrity of the officials into question in that situation. They were very specific about it. And I think that's where Bob Bowlesby in the league had the most trouble with what they said.
Were they suspended by the Big 12 or by Texas Tech?
Big 12. I'm assuming it was the Big 12 saying, you need to do something or we will. So, they're not going to announce this weekend.
Okay.
Well, I know you'll be announcing this weekend, Pete. Thank you so much. You went way over what we expected, and you always do. Appreciate that very much. We enjoy the time with you and the visit again. Tell folks how they can hear the Navy broadcast on Saturday.
If they're in Annapolis, they can listen in Annapolis on 1430 AM and 99.9 FM plus 1090 AM and 1500 AM all throughout the DC area. In fact, if you're driving up from Greenville, you can pick up 1500 and 1090 pretty much just about anywhere. They're both 50,000 watt flamethrowers. So they can listen in as we start our pregame at 2:35 coming up on Saturday afternoon. And like I said, we always enjoy having the East Carolina fans up there. They always show up. They're very supportive. And, I love doing the shows with you guys because you guys are great, college fans. You're sincere about your club and you guys care about ECU as a product. And that's all we can ask for right now in our coverage of our teams is, just having, the great thing about these kind of formats, we got so many more people now that are throwing attention on these teams and covering these teams. And I think it's great for all the schools involved, especially to the level at which you guys do it and do a great job. So it's a no-brainer for me to come on every year to talk with you guys because I just love talking college football. And, Joe Miller and I do a weekly college football podcast, a preview edition on Monday and a review edition as well. So, we love talking about college football. It's one of the greatest sports that the good Lord ever created. And hopefully people don't complicate it too much where we stop enjoying it at some point. That's for sure.
No doubt. We'll see how it turns out on Saturday. And hopefully we can be talking to you again about the Military Bowl, December 27th. We'll see how that plays out. First things first, we got to get done with the regular season. And we'll talk to you again, my friend. Thank you again so much for the overtime that you spent with us tonight.
Not a problem. Always good to be with you guys.
Okay. Take care, buddy.
Thanks, Pete.
All right. Bye-bye. Speaking of overtime, we'll be having overtime a little bit later. Right now, though, with former quarterback for the Pirates guys, right, Bubba? We got a great one here.
Yeah, obviously those first 2 years of the Ruffin McNeil era, so many yards thrown for, and I'm very excited to be joined by former East Carolina quarterback Dominique Davis. Dom, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. How you guys doing?
First of all, Dom, thank you. I know you had the patience of Job. Thank you so much. We definitely went longer than we expected with our first guest, but so happy to have you on. Obviously, a really big game on Saturday, a game that you know well. Just want to get your thoughts on, first of all, how do you think the Pirates are doing under Coach Mike Houston? And then we'll talk about Navy as well.
All right. First off, man, I'm glad you guys asked me to come on the show.
Absolutely.
As far as the team, man, I'm so happy the team is finally having some success. I know it's been a while, and you got to go through those rough patches when you're trying to rebuild. But yeah, finally you see things turning around, and we bowl eligible. And I'm just happy for the guys that they get to finally enjoy the fruits of their labor.
Dominique, back in 2011, you were part of the only victory East Carolina's had over Navy, and I'm sure Bubba remembers, and I'm sure you remember. Obviously, you were the one completing the passes. How many consecutive passes did you complete in a row in that game?
Completed 26 in a row. 26 in a row in the first half.
Did you realize that when you were doing it, or did you not realize that until halftime?
I didn't realize until a reporter walked up to me during while we was walking in the locker room at halftime, and she told me, and yeah, that's when it hit me when this is how it feels to be in the zone.
How long did that record stand for, Dom?
It's still standing.
It's still the record today. Okay, fantastic. That's an amazing achievement.
Yep. I believe a couple of guys have came close, but yeah, I'm still top of the mountain right now.
No doubt about it. I'll tell you one thing that's with Navy, such a tricky game. Can you talk about one of the things I've always wanted to ask you, Dom, and maybe Matt, but Dom, can you talk about the preparation you guys did? Maybe was it during the summertime? Is it fall camp? Did you work on it all the time, or was it just a couple weeks on Navy?
Holy shit, man. My junior year, my first year, when Navy dropped 76 points on us, I swear, that first week of camp, the next season, we was preparing for Navy the first week, and we didn't have to play them until like mid-season. So, yeah, you definitely have to prepare totally different for Navy like you do any other team, because Navy's been doing that for forever, really. So historically, Navy's been really good, and they've been really good by triple option and fullback dive. So, man, it's definitely it takes a lot of time to prepare, especially when you know what's coming, but you still don't know what's coming. So you got to prepare just in case, something different happens.
Dom, East Carolina head coach Mike Houston, and a guy that you're very familiar with, offensive coordinator Donnie Kirkpatrick. Just talk about the approach. You play twice against Navy. When you're playing, that style of offense, it's going to be a limited possession game. Just give us a glimpse behind the scenes, the things that the coaching staff was saying to you in 2010 and 2011, as far as just making the most of your possessions, those few chances you did have.
Well, on our side of the ball, on offense, it was a lot more simple and easy to game plan against Navy, because all they ran was, one or two coverages. So all we had to do was just really not turn over the ball and just continue to get first downs, and we would be fine. So that's one of the main reasons why I had so many completions, because I just knew exactly what defense Navy was running every single play, and they're not changing. They're not going to switch up. They're not going to make adjustments. They're going to do what they do, and they're going to do it well. And if you are patient enough to just chip away and get in the end zone, then okay. But like I said, they're going to do what they do. They're going to sit back and try to wait for you to make mistakes and let their offense do all the work. So, yeah, it's a chess match, but as long as you stay patient versus Navy and you don't turn over the ball, you should have success versus Navy.
Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead, Kyle. See you wanted to chime in. I'll let you chime in.
Dom, what was the difference in preparation from 2010 to 2011? You mentioned getting ready for them from day one at camp in 2011 after the debacle in 2010. How did you guys prepare for them in 2010? I know obviously you're playing on the opposite side of the ball as the quarterback, but particularly for the defense, obviously we were not as well prepared in 2010 as we were in 2011. So going back to 2010, how did we prepare for Navy then? Obviously, it wasn't the week one of camp preparation that we did in 2011.
I guess you approach every week the same. Really, you want to go into the first day and game plan certain stuff on one day, and then go into the next day and game plan certain stuff the next day, and that's what you do weekly. So going in each week and just coming up to the Navy week is just a regular game plan. But this is totally different than all the other teams we play. So we need to really focus on this team for next season, so we don't get put 76 points on us again. So that was the only difference, really. It's just we couldn't treat it like a regular week like we did the season before.
Dom, totally nothing to do with the Navy game, but I just want to ask you about this. You played in the league some. You played for the Falcons. Talk about your time in the league and how different the college game is from the pro game.
I would say the speed of the game and the terminology. The holes close up a lot quicker. Everybody in the league is that much faster, and and everybody's a freak athlete. So you go from each level, from little league football to high school to college to the pros. It gets faster each level, and it's just that much faster once you get to the highest level. And attention to details is a lot more important. Not to say in college and in high school it's not, but the attention to details are a lot more important, because it's really 1, 2, or 3 plays in the pro level that determines you winning or losing. So that's the main the main difference is the speed of the game and paying attention to the details.
Dom, as a former quarterback myself on the small college level, I know exactly what you're talking about, is as far as the verbiage of the play calls. But I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but give our viewers an example of a call in Lincoln Riley's offense. I know it's been a while, but then to a call on the NFL level.
Oh man, Lincoln's system, I don't know how it is now, him in Oklahoma, but when it was here in East Carolina, it was very simple as far as terminology, and everything was signals from the sideline. So with Lincoln, a play could just be called spread right 66, and that's it. Everybody knows what to do. Or you go trips right 34, and everyone knows what to do. Or there's a certain code word where we just say a formation and then the code word, and everybody knows what to do. So we could just say spread right Florida, and everybody knows what to do. But you get to the NFL, you have to tag everyone. So it can be spread right 64 jet, Hank H flat X2 Y corner, and you have to say all that stuff just like that. And it's kind of different now, because when I was in the league, we didn't have wristbands on our wrists, because now in the NFL you got the wristband on your wrist and you could just read the play off your wristband. But when I was in the NFL, you just get the call from your coach in your headset, in your helmet, and you just got to repeat what the coach say. So you really have to study the play calls, because sometimes you might not be able to hear the play call clearly, and you have to fill in the blanks or put the pieces to the puzzle together. So it's a lot different as far as cadence and play calling in the NFL than it is in college.
Dom, as a quarterback who played at the highest level, how would you evaluate, and I don't know how much you've watched this year and last year, but how would you evaluate the play of Holton Ahlers?
I haven't been watching closely, but I've been watching from afar, and I could just tell, everybody gets better with experience. And he's been around for a while, and he's been playing. He's got a lot of snaps, and you could just see his maturity and his leadership. And yeah, like I said, man, I'm just happy for him and the guys that they finally seeing some success.
Dom, if you would, Richard Allsbrook chiming in on Facebook, he said, what teammates from your ECU playing days back in 2010 and 2011 do you still stay in contact with?
I still keep in contact with Lance Lewis, Justin Hardy, and of course my roommates who I was there with, Bradley Jacobs, Travis Simmons, Brandon Carr, Chris Sykes. Those are probably the guys who I keep in touch with for the most part, and also Stanley Bryant. We weren't teammates at East Carolina, but we from the same cloth. So, and we've been in the CFL together. So, those are the main guys I stay in contact with.
Dominic, you hold a very unique. I don't know the word I'm looking for here, but it's a unique. You're the only guy in East Carolina history that played for Ruffin McNeil and Steve Logan. Talk about Coach Logan, if you will, in your time at Boston College.
Man, Steve Logan is the reason why I committed to Boston College. They started recruiting me a few weeks before signing day, and I remember him coming to my high school. And I'm at basketball practice, and they pulled me out of basketball practice, and he sat me down and started drawing plays on the board, and just he wowed the shit out of me. So I went on the visit, and that's all she wrote. And just the guy he is, I mean, he's charismatic, he's funny, he'll light you up when he has to. He's just a jack of all trades, and yeah, he's definitely a guy who I learned a lot of knowledge from, and I appreciate him for helping me throughout my career.
Dom, you also are unique in that you've played in obviously the NFL and now the CFL. I know there's some rule differences, but as far as talent goes and players and all, what can you talk about the differences in the leagues, plural, I should say?
I would say the talent is not different. It's just, I would say, how can I say this? I guess I would say the CFL is like a bunch of undersized NFL players, because most of the guys that play in the CFL they came from the NFL and just couldn't stick in the NFL because of their size or just numbers, or they just didn't land in the right situation. But talent has never been a question. So as far as the difference, that might be the only thing, is just undersized NFL players.
We got a question for B. We had a question from B. Pays that I'm going to ask in just a minute, or somebody will. We'll come back to that in just a second. I had a follow up to the CFL question, Bubba. But you're talking about the talent in the CFL, Dom, and obviously a lot of great college football players that played at the Division I level in the CFL and former NFL players. But there also has to be a certain amount of Canadians on each team, if I remember correctly. Talk about those guys, the actual Canadian football players that are in the CFL. And how do they stack up talent wise?
That's what makes the Canadian League great is the Canadian players up here. Without the Canadian players, the Canadian League wouldn't be what it is. So I would say there's probably more Americans than Canadians on each roster, but you just the way the rules are set up, you have to have like a certain amount of Canadians either on your roster or in your starting lineup. So other than that, man, there's great Canadian talent up here, but the rules up here are different as far as high school. Then you got junior football, and then you go to the pros. So sometimes you'll have Canadian rookies, like 25, 26-year-old Canadian rookies, because there's so many different levels before you get to the pros. So, man, it's very unique. And once you understand the game and know what's going on up here, it's fun.
Hey, Dom, I have to ask you a question as far as being from, I think, Florida, right? How is the weather there in Canada? I mean, we always give Matt a hard time and try to get him back down to Greenville because of the great state of Connecticut where he is. And I know that he has that balmy weather all the time, right, Matt? But how's the weather there where you are?
Shit is terrible, man. Shit is terrible, especially when I was in Winnipeg for 3 years. That's the coldest place I ever been in my life. It's cold. It's hot. You maybe get warm weather 2 months out of the year, like August and September. Because even in July, it's still a little chilly. I have to wear a hoodie in the morning and at night in July in Winnipeg. So, yeah, man. I don't know how I do it, but if you're not used to the cold, Canada is not a place to visit, especially in the winter.
We had a question earlier from B Pace. He was wanting to know when you were transferring out of Boston College, you were a Skip Holtz recruit.
Mm-hmm.
How close were you not coming? Were you ever close to not coming to East Carolina when Skip left and we hired Ruffin, or was it just a matter of talking to Lincoln and learning what kind of offense you'd be playing in?
Oh no, I was definitely considering going with Skip and Todd Fitch, because that's who I committed to. That's who recruited me. That's who made me feel like ECU was home. So once they got the USF and I saw the roster there and they told me some things, it wasn't sitting well. So they hired Ruff, and then he called me that night, and then him and Lincoln came to my house the next day and told me they still wanted me. And of course, Texas Tech football then with Mike Leach and all that stuff, I was like, oh man, they put up huge numbers. So I was just happy that they still wanted me to come, and yeah, that was all she wrote.
And earlier Kyle referenced this. Coach Logan, obviously, he'd been an assistant on Bill Lewis' staff from 89 to 91, and then is the head coach from 92 to 02. So did Coach Logan in that process, did he share any words about East Carolina?
He didn't at all. He used to always talk about David Garrard a lot, but he's never really talked about East Carolina. So I knew he coached there just by him coaching David Garrard, but he used to never really talk about East Carolina like that. And it's funny that Steve Logan was the head coach for East Carolina, and his offensive line coach was Jeff Jagosinski, who was my head coach at Boston College, while Steve Logan was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Jeff Jagosinski was one time the O-line coach here. What do you know what Jags is doing now, Dom?
I have no idea, and it's crazy. It's about 5, 6, 7 years ago. I'm in the Charlotte airport, and I just randomly ran into him. And yeah, I don't know what he's doing. I think he was coaching in the USFL when it was out, but I don't.
The UFL. That's the last time Yeah, the UFL is what you mean. That's the last time I remember seeing him as a head coach
Yep.
in the very short-lived UFL.
Yep.
That's
Kyle,
nuts.
I just Googled it, and if this is correct, and this, who knows, it may be incorrect, but it says that as of 2021, he is an offensive line coach in Poland.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, that's
In
what
Poland? What in the
Yes.
world?
That's a war. Speaking of a cold place, Matt Simonza and Tom Davis.
and
Yeah.
B Pace chimed in before I had even Googled it. I failed to see B Pace's comment on Facebook. He said he is in Poland. But speaking of cold weather, Dom, we know you have a game tomorrow. So just talk about what you have going on currently. You're up in the CFL with Winnipeg.
I'm up in the CFL with Ottawa
Calgary.
Redblacks right now.
He's with Ottawa.
Ottawa. Sorry, Ottawa.
We have a game tomorrow. It's our last game of the season. I'm not playing. Because I've been injured. I've been injured the past 8 weeks. But yeah, we didn't do too well this season, and we got eliminated from the playoffs a few weeks ago. But yeah, we're approaching our last game, and I'll be a free agent, and yeah, we'll see what happens come free agency this offseason.
Well, Dom, I tell you what, we're very excited for you, very happy for you. Thank you for becoming a Pirate and transferring in. You were awesome to watch. I wish guys like you and Matt, a lot of we could play for many, many, many years, but that's not the way college football works. But thank you for being a great Pirate, and we appreciate your time again tonight on the show.
Oh, no problem, man. Thank you for having me. And I got to get back to Greenville soon so I can see what's different around there.
Oh, no doubt. I know you're. I've got a lot going on with your playing career, and there in the CFL it's hard to get back, but I'd love to have you back very soon. That'll be awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Have a great night, my friend.
Thanks, Tom.
We could talk to Don for a long time, but he was patient, and I know that he's got the game, so wanted to get him here. Guys, I'm very excited. What a great show. All the great input, the great guests. You guys are awesome. I'm fired up. I am absolutely fired up for this game. I'm glad that we have to wait to Saturday for the football players, but this game seems like it's been. I've been waiting for 2 weeks for this game. I don't know. I've been ready for this game like maybe Tuesday, and here it is just Thursday. But that just tells you how great our program is now, or a lot better than it was. Where like Tom Petty said, the waiting is the hardest part.
Yeah, yeah, ready for this game on Saturday against the midshipmen. I think we all are. I'll still echo the what I said earlier. I don't care what anybody says. I am worried about this game from a focus standpoint, because I think particularly on the defensive side of the ball, you have to be extremely focused to stop this annoying ass triple option offense. So hope you guys are locked in and ready to go and aren't looking behind or looking ahead, and just focused on Navy. And if not, we're going to get beat. So let's so the Pirates can get their second ever win over the midshipmen.
Let's go around the horn. I'm going to call the first person I'm going to call is Matt Simonza. What's your prediction? What do you think about the game?
I think it's going to be a tough game. I mean, I think it's one of these games that can go either way. But I'll tell you, I do feel very good about our chances of winning for a few reasons. Number one, we can run the football now. And I would this week I would tend to lean on Keaton Mitchell a little bit more. In my opinion, I feel like he'd get the majority of the carries, because I feel like his speed, his home run hitting ability can really play a factor this week in the game. Navy, they have a very solid defense. They're disciplined, but they don't necessarily have great team speed. So I'd like to get the ball in Keaton's hands as much as possible this weekend, maybe more than some of the other weeks where it tends to be very balanced. But so I'd like to see that. I also think our defensive line is much better prepared to handle Navy up front. We have more depth. I think we're the better team up front. So, I think, it's going to come down to some big plays as always. But I think if we take care of business, we can come out of there with a win.
Do you have a score you're going to give me?
Boy, that's a tough one, man. This is another one I really struggle on. I said last week against Memphis, that was the hardest prediction I had of the year. This one, I'm going to say 31-24 Pirates.
What about you, Kyle Barber? Who do you think? Who wins the game?
Yeah. This game's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty low scoring. I do agree with Matt about Keaton Mitchell, by the way. Now watch, Rajay Harris will run for 200 yards, which will be fine. That'll be perfectly fun. I think it's going to be pretty low scoring. I'm gonna go East Carolina 21, Navy 17.
Oh my God, that was exactly what I was getting ready to say. Oh wow. Well, I don't have to give a prediction. That was my score. So Pirates, it's going to be a low scoring game, like Kyle said, 21-17. Bubba.
I think it'll be a 4-quarter game, very much like those Navy games that Pete Medhurst referenced. Cincinnati, obviously they beat UCF, SMU, Houston. They've played the top teams in this league down the wire, so there's no reason to expect any different this week. It'd be great if that didn't happen, obviously, but certainly not expecting anything but a game that comes down to the wire. I do think that we'll be ready to go, but we'll see how things play out. I'm just looking forward to getting up to Annapolis with some friends and being able to be there in person. And this is a venue. I guess I went in 2006, Skip Holt's second year. Pirates lost, I think it was 27-23, something like that. A game that was very well played by both teams, and didn't give up a lot of big plays. I think maybe Navy had one play over 15 or 20 yards that day, but they just 3 and 4 yarded us to death.
Well, Bubba's going to see a win this time. No doubt about it.
I think they probably converted about 17 fourth downs that day.
Who are you taking, Bubba?
Obviously, I'm joking, but they did convert an unbelievable number of fourth downs, just like East Carolina converted 18 third downs last week.
Bobby, so are you taking the Pirates?
Yeah.
Okay, you never said that.
Well, that's fine. I really wasn't going there, but I was just.
Bubba, you were hedging a little bit on that one. You were.
Well, we're doing picks. Yeah. We're doing picks.
He's a great politician.
I wasn't doing a pick.
You weren't fully committing there.
No.
And how about Robert? Robert has a pick too that he put up there on he's on YouTube watching. Thank you, Robert. Matt Callaway, a lot of guys that tonight faced. Robert's taking the Pirates 27-24. Hey, as long as the Pirates win, if it's by 1, we'll take it. Especially we've struggled against Navy, so I don't think the Pirates are going to overlook them. I think they have a lot of respect for that program, and furthermore, with that type of offense they run, why in the world would you overlook them? I don't think they will. I really don't.
No. I'll tell you guys, I want to get this game for 2 reasons. Number one, I just want to beat Navy. Let's just talk. I mean, Navy has owned us. All right. Yeah. So I just, from the standpoint, I just want to get this win against Navy. But I think even for a bigger reason than that, I think if we can win this game heading into Black Friday against Cincinnati, the stadium will be absolutely rocking that day. There'll be more excitement. If we lose this game, I think some of that excitement might be muted a little bit heading into that game. So just from a pure momentum standpoint and going into that last Friday of the season against Cincinnati, I think it would make, just a world of difference to get this win.
Look, yeah, and on that front, Matt, as far as tickets for the Cincinnati game on that Friday after Thanksgiving, you have 4 tickets for just $60, and that also includes 4 tickets to a basketball game against Coppin State for the men, and then a women's game. I'm trying to remember who the opponent is, but you're getting a lot for that $60, even if you can't even go to the basketball games. So take advantage of that. And Pirate Nation, you have a bowl team for the first time in 7 years. You potentially have a 7-win team coming into that game against what will probably be a top 5, maybe even a top 2 opponent. I mean, what more could you ask for? You have what you've been wanting. So, reward this team and do what's in the best interest of the program and get to Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium.
And,
I would encourage the students, if you can, go home Thursday, come back or go home Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever. Come back Friday, come back early, and go to the ball game. It's an opportunity that if we win that ball game, if we find a way to beat Cincinnati in a couple weeks, it will be a moment you'll never forget. It'll go down in East Carolina Pirate football lore. If they beat SMU this week, it would be the biggest win in terms of ranked opponent we've ever had. It will be at the 50-yard line. It will be it's on ABC. So if you're a student and if you're a Pirate fan in general, you want to be there because you're going to lie and say you were there. 10 years from now, you're going to tell a damn lie and you're going to say you were there. So instead of having to lie about it, be there.
And guys, one more thing that I failed to mention. We're at an hour and 46 minutes in this show, and I was going to mention in the early part of the show. Another thing, Kyle, that nobody's talking about this week, we're talking about the trap games and the sandwich games and all that. Guess what? The reason why, not only for Navy, because it's Navy, but we're playing for a winning season. We're playing for win number 7, which would guarantee a winning season the first time since 2014. So these guys know that. And they're going to be playing. They're going to be fighting like crazy. They're not going to be overlooking it. I can promise you that.
Yeah, it guarantees a winning record, which is huge and something that a lot of people haven't talked about. 6 wins does not guarantee you a winning season, but if you can take care of business this weekend, no matter what happens the rest of the way, we will be guaranteed a winning season, which is something we have not had since 2014.
Well, one of the things that when you have a former Pirate on, and I know that he wants to show off and he wants to talk way over at least my head. I won't say like Bubba and Kyle's head, but you are the expert, Matt, and I know that you had a great idea. So I'm going to give you the floor right now on one of our new things, a new wrinkle for the show.
Yeah, guys. So I'm debuting here. This is my big board. I don't know if you guys can see this. I got to get it lined up here with the camera here. I don't know how clear this is on video here. But basically what this is the Navy big board. And these are essentially 5 things that we need to do on defense to win this game, right? Not so much schematically, but just basically from a big picture standpoint. If we can achieve these 5 things, we will definitely slow Navy down, have a good chance to win. The first one is win on first down. We have to win on first down on defense. What Navy, they're always in 4-down territory. So what they want to do is get you in a situation where it's 3rd and 3 or 4th and 2, and then they want to convert first downs and sort of break your back that way. So we need to win big on first down defense and force them into situations where it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and that quarterback actually has to throw the ball.
He hasn't thrown it 20 times. It's not many times this year.
Not many times at all. So I think that's a big one. The second one is to win battles up front. Our defensive line needs to whip Navy up front. And we have the guys to do it now. We have the depth, we have the size, but they have to take those matchups personally and win those battles up front. The third thing is anytime you play an option style offense, you have to get off blocks, right? So there's going to be cut blocks coming at our linebackers. Their wide receivers block really well on the perimeter. So not only do our linebackers need to stay on their feet and not get cut, which is hard to do, they have to shed those blocks, but our corners need to play physical on the outside and two-gap the receivers, make sure they get off blocks and make plays. So that's a huge factor when you play the option. The fourth one is hit the quarterback in the mouth. when the quarterback's coming around the edge, and I'm not saying anything dirty. I'm not saying anything to the head, but if you can hit him in the mouth, right, you start to create some doubt in his mind when he's going to tuck it and run and when he's going to pitch it. And that's what can lead to turnovers in that option offense, some errant pitch out type plays. So when we get our opportunities to hit the quarterback, we need to take it. And then the fifth one is to read your keys. A lot of times defenses, when they're preparing for the option, you don't even practice with a football. That's something we did when we played Army back in the day. We practiced on defense. The offense didn't use a football because it's all about keys. It's all about knowing who has the dive, who has the fullback, who has the pitch or the quarterback. So it's all about the keys. So disciplined football from a key perspective is very important. So there it is, guys. That's the first big board. I'm telling you right now, if we follow those principles, we can win this game.
There used to be a sportscaster many years ago in Eastern North Carolina named Brad Saruba. So somewhat similar name.
That's
and he used to have Brad Saruba, Big Board Sports. So it's going to be Matt Semenza's Big Board Sports from here on out.
I love it. I was thinking that's so wild, Kyle, but that's because we're from Eastern North Carolina. They had that when Zaruba came on they had like this promo and asked if it was like an island, like Aruba, and all that. But from Channel 7, WITN. Guys, I tell you, so excited. I know, Bubba, we got some comments, right?
Yeah, James Cutler is chiming in on YouTube. He said close, low-scoring game, not a lot of possessions. Both teams burn clock. The over-under for this game is 46.5, the last I checked. And then B. Pace chiming in once again. He says, has anyone ever seen Mark Libbiano and Matt Semenza in the same building? They're twins, LOL.
I want to do a show, seriously, with the linebacking core of Libbiano, Jeff Carr, Matt Semenza. They're like – and early on the show, by the way, I failed to mention, too, Darren Hart said hello to you. I know you saw that, but former teammate. Those Hart twins, I'll tell you what, DBs don't get a lot of credit. You always hear about, the linebackers putting on, but they used to put some big hits on players, too, back in the day that I remember.
Oh, no doubt about it. They're great guys. Great players, both of them. I really enjoyed playing with those guys. So always good. What's up, Darren? And as far as B. Pays' comment, yeah, it's funny. A lot of people used to get me and Libbiano confused back in the day. So yeah, there's definitely I guess you would say a similar look, but I think I'm much better looking than Libbiano. So I'll say
wow,
that. Yeah.
And also, we appreciate
just kidding, man. Just kidding.
Calloway chiming in. Sorry about that, Matt. We've got to get this show in front of more people.
Thank you very much, Mark. We
thank you, Undertaker. Perhaps you can talk to Vince McMahon and see if you can get our exposure. That Mark Calloway, right? That's the Undertaker.
Yeah, that's Bubba Rosenbaum. I wonder if he got that joke. So.
I'm quite sure me and you are the only two that got that joke. But
yeah,
no, I guarantee you, I did not get that joke.
Mark Calloway.
The Undertaker's real name is Mark Calloway.
Yep, exactly. So, thank you so much, B. Page. We need to get some more of the Big Pirate fans on the show for sure. And by the way, Mofo definitely needs to be in the Hall of Fame. There's no question about it. God rest him, man. Rest his soul, man. Rest in peace. I can't believe still. Hard to believe when we lose our men and women in purple and gold. It's not cool at all. So anyway,
most instinctive football player I ever played with. Just had a knack. Always knew where to be on the field at the right time to make a big play. Just an amazing player.
Yeah, B Pays. He's got a lot of pull on radio. He says, "I'm going to get the show in Norfolk for Kyle." So.
Hey, look, the transient market appeals to me. I want to get into why, but there's a transient markets. Well, I'll shut up.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Hey, I think Kyle would be a better fit with the fan base there in Norfolk too, with Old Dominion.
Screw you, Bubba. Screw you.
Most people don't get that reference, but I knew you would.
I totally get it.
You want a quick explanation, or I mean, do you want to provide a quick explanation?
After we play
first season.
Yeah, after we played Old Dominion, ODU's first season, or excuse me, Mike Houston's first season, we played at ODU, and I said here on the podcast that they had the worst fan base I ever seen. They remind me of soccer fans. They were losing the game and just sitting there having fun in the stands like it didn't matter. And so it reminds me of not soccer fans in terms of Europe, because they're obviously very passionate. It reminds me of a damn MLS crowd. So
Kyle's exact words is they're weird as hell.
The weirdest fan base I've ever seen in my life. I mean, you're losing the game, yet you're having a ball. You know, when we're losing a game, I'm absolutely miserable.
Well, that tells you everything you need to know right there, right? The Football Club of Norfolk. Thank you, B-Pay. B-Pay is on a roll, man. He's on a roll tonight. Appreciate it.
But look, I do think, all serious aside, people want to talk media markets, and I get the transient thing and then the business thing. And look, I think all three of the four of us, and maybe all four of us, would completely disagree with Pete Medhurst's take on media market thing. And I get advertisement dollars and all that, but I do not see the appeal of Charlotte. If you want to talk media markets, I think ODU's the only show in town in Norfolk, and it does give you a large media market. And App State is just a better football program than Charlotte. So I think either one of them would have been a better fit if you wanted another team in the Carolinas, Virginia area outside of VCU.
I definitely agree with it as far as the fans. I think what we need to do, like I've said before, is the best thing to do is take the American money and schedule the teams like that the fans want in non-conference, and you still get the best of both worlds. I really believe that.
Pete was, he was kind of going in the direction that, along our line of thinking, as far as, talking about the Sun Belt and the Sun Belt's TV deal compared to Conference USA. In terms of App State, Georgia Southern, a lot of college towns as opposed to major markets.
And the Sun Belt has done very well, where Conference USA has not, and it's the same markets. And I guess Pete's point was Oresco knows how to utilize those markets better than the commissioner of Conference USA, Judy something. And that may be true, but
that's definitely
Judge Judy.
Do what?
It's Judge Judy.
Well, whatever. She's horrible. But they had those teams. Charlotte was there, Birmingham was there, et cetera, and it ain't help Conference USA. So we'll see what it does for the Americans.
Hey, by the way, Kyle, we have B-Pays is bringing up. We have ODU tomorrow night in basketball. So there you go. You get your Norfolk.
Great. I wish we weren't playing ODU because that means we would have won. But so as we're talking ODU, we play them tomorrow night in basketball, and then I believe we play them again in a couple of weeks in basketball. So we're going to get a couple of shots at ODU, who has a pretty good basketball program.
And tonight, they were absolutely throttled by the Indiana State Sycamores, 77-36.
Whoa.
Wow.
Oh,
what is going on with their
I
offense?
definitely would not have seen that one coming.
No.
What is going on with their offense?
That's embarrassing. 36
That's really
points.
bad.
Good
Wow,
Lord.
that's really bad. I would have never guessed that in the middle. I mean, I can see Indiana State winning the game, but not by that much. Wow.
Did they bring Larry
Well,
Bird back for that game?
That's what
Apparently.
B-Pays just said.
Larry Bird went for – there you go. Exactly. Bird went for 40.
Apparently.
Like 1978.
Let's hope ODU doesn't find their offense. It's kind of scary when you see a team that isn't that bad get beat that bad. You kind of don't want to play them the next game because they're going to have something to prove. ODU, there's no way they're that bad. I mean, and if they are, that coach won't be there long because there's no way ODU should be that bad in basketball.
Well, if they are, that means we have a good chance for 2 wins, right? For the one in the tournament for the Myrtle Beach.
Oh, yeah. If they're legitimately that bad, yeah. If that wasn't just a fluke, yeah, then we should beat them twice.
Their results prior to tonight, they are now 2-2. They defeated a non-D1 opponent, Virginia Wesleyan, 80-60. Lost at James Madison, 58-53, and then beaten Manhattan, 79-58.
There you go.
Okay, so they had been relatively competitive up to this point, but it doesn't sound like they're great. So I like our chances.
We'll see how that. By the way, we have Bubba. Do we still have an overtime for tonight?
At this point, I don't know. We may have to double up after the semifinals tomorrow.
Okay. All right, sounds good. We didn't plan that. We're at the 2-hour mark, but I have to say that we have the one of the things, we have a lot of viewers here tonight. We have Semenza's on the big board, sports from Matt Semenza. We have two wonderful guests, Pete Medhurst and Dom Davis. We got the great, the great team here. Great fans chiming in all night long. Great Pirate fans. So no doubt about it. We sometimes we ramble, but tonight I think we did very, very well. One of the best we've done in a long, long time. Do you guys have anything before we go?
And Kyle mentioned Rusty in the Navy, so that might have been the highlight of the night right there, right, Kyle?
I don't know. It didn't seem to go over as well as I thought it would.
No. It was a delayed reaction, Bubba. If you get a chance, when that question, please save. I was going to say this off the air to you, but I'll say it on the air right now. Please save Pete Medhurst laugh. I've never heard him laugh like that before, so I thought it went over very well. He just didn't get the joke at first, but when he did, he thought it was really funny, and that was my take.
I wonder if I would have chimed in with that with Ken Niumatololo at his press conference, do you think we'd have had our credential revoked?
Like, hey, Kyle, it's like Stuttering John, like with Howard Stern.
I don't know. If you asked that at the press conference, Bubba, that would have been epic. But
let's go out with a bang. But in all seriousness, something of note for Old Dominion, they, like B. Pays mentioned, Jeff Jones, their head coach, former head coach of the University of Virginia, as well as American. He did not travel with the team to Myrtle Beach and will not coach in the game, or did not coach in the game tonight and will not coach tomorrow. He had flu-like symptoms, and his physician advised him not to travel. He has tested negative for COVID-19. So,
wow.
And get this, the acting head coach is Bryant Stith. Brendan obviously played for the Pirates, and Bryant Stith was the star in the University of Virginia several years ago.
No doubt about it. B Pays, man, I tell you what, you're killing me with the comments there. And the dogs peed on the sandwiches. So remember that from Vegas. From vacation, I should say. I love those movies. Huge fan of. I think the one speaking of which, before we go, movies. I watched Taken a couple nights ago. Wow, still great. Still holds the test of time. Number one. So I did my homework again. It's on Amazon Prime for those of you who have that. And as far as the the vacation movies. Vegas.
Look, you're trying to say Vegas Vacation is your favorite vacation movie.
No.
By far the best. I will tell you this: it has the best Audrey. All of a sudden, Audrey on Vegas Vacation is suddenly hot. I'm like, what in the world happened? But but by far the worst vacation movie. Vegas Vacation is a disgrace to the franchise.
Yeah, no doubt. I didn't even see the new version or whatever. Not even.
It was all right. It shouldn't have been. It was nowhere near as good as the originals. I wish Chevy would have been in it a little more. He just had I wouldn't call it a cameo, but it was briefly. Rusty goes and visits him. You know what pissed me off, and then we'll get off this and get the hell out of here. What pissed me off about the new vacation movie? All right, so you got the kid that played Rusty. There were tons of different Rusties. But the kid that played Rusty in Christmas Vacation is a big star now. He's the dude from Big Bang, whatever the hell his name is, from Roseanne and all that. So why didn't he play Rusty instead of that dude from The Office in the new Vacation? To me, that would have been so much better. You would have some continuity with the previous movies. They could have brought Juliette Lewis back to play play Audrey. But anyway, I won't even get into all that because nobody really cares.
Yeah. Did you like European Vacation?
It's all right. It's all right. It's different. It's got some fun. It's not. It's nowhere near as funny as Christmas Vacation or the original National Lampoon's Vacation, but it has some very funny moments, like the roundabout, and he keeps hitting the same dude with his car, and the guy, it's all right. You just broke my leg. It's all right. My arm's backwards now. You know that crap funny.
Monty Python.
Richard Dawson's in. Is it Richard Dawson? Somebody's in it. Maybe it's somebody just acting like Richard Dawson at the beginning, the game show when they win the trip to Europe, and he's super creepy. So anyway, it has funny moments. It's it would be the third best vacation movie.
No doubt. And I would say the Christmas Vacation is my favorite vacation. I would say the original Vacation is my second. Yeah. And then, of course, European. And if you have to rank the rank vacation movie would be Vegas Vacation. Matt Simmons and I love Vegas, but they should have never filmed that. The location was fabulous, but not the movie.
It does have a funny line, and this line has been copied many times with Eddie, with cousin Eddie, when he visits the Hoover Dam. Where can I buy some damn bait? That was a good line in the movie. So, but besides that, Vegas Vacation not very good.
Fletch is very good. B-Pace.
That's a good movie. Yes, it is. And an interesting fact about Fletch, Jim Bob Walton is in Fletch. Find him in that movie. Find Jim Bob in that movie. I was watching Fletch one night on one of the movie channels and suddenly see Jim Bob driving a car down the interstate. And so there you go. There's your key. Find Jim Bob in that movie for anybody who grew up watching the Waltons.
Anybody have any movie picks before we go? And then we'll get out of here.
Fletch. Go watch Fletch.
Fletch is a classic. I'll say this: Chevy Chase is better than Bill Murray. Boom. That's controversial, but that's my take.
I think they're both good, man. I think they're both good. Groundhog Day, Ghostbusters. Groundhog Day. Hey, what about the new Ghostbusters? Has anybody seen that yet?
It's coming out. It's coming out as a Friday, right?
Oh, then I guess nobody's seen it yet. Speaking of Bill Murray, but I like Bill Murray a lot too. So I don't know if I can say Chevy Chase is better. I would say they're equal.
Longer too.
Yeah, I would say they're equal, man. They're both great. I might take Dan Aykroyd over them both just because of the Blues Brothers.
Woo, that's a great movie. The first one, not the second one. Oh my God, the second one's terrible. But
that doesn't even count. And I love John Goodman, but come on.
Bubba, do you have anything? You love comedies, Bubba. Do you have anything before we go?
Not really. I mean, these would not be surprising given the actors that you just mentioned, and the likes of Dan Aykroyd and then also obviously John Belushi. I'm a huge fan of Animal House as well as Blues Brothers.
Yeah, those are
the original, obviously.
No doubt.
Yes. I mean, I don't even. Does anybody even count Blues Brothers 2000? I mean, come on.
No. Oh,
that's an abomination.
I watched. I didn't even make it through the whole movie. I watched it on video or whatever. I think I made it maybe 20 minutes. That's probably stretching it. And I just turned the video back in. So like Blockbuster.
There was a bunch of bad sequels around that time. They made a third Crocodile Dundee movie that people forget about around that time. I asked the average person how many Crocodile Dundee movies there were. They'll say 2, but there was a Croc 3 that came out in the early 2000s that is just horrible. How about Chris Farley? Tommy Boy, Black Sheep. The best thing Chris Farley ever did was Matt Foley in a van down by the river.
Well done, Kyle. That sounded eerily similar.
That was
I'm about the same size. I also have the trouble with my pants staying up. I'm here to talk about you think you're something. You think you're a big sports sportscaster Dave Richmond. You think you're going to get on here and be something. Well, this is what's going to happen. You're going to end up living in a van down by the river.
I do have a van, so hopefully I don't live by the Roanoke River soon.
Kyle, you missed your calling, man. You missed your calling.
To be a big fat guy who, I agree. But I'm a big fat guy. I can be funny. I'd rather, the cocaine and the heart attack doesn't appeal to me. Chris Farley was hysterical. Another decent Chris Farley movie, Beverly Hills Ninja.
That was
good.
That was good.
Yeah, that was another good one.
Hey, Matt, can you see Kyle being a Chippendales dancer like Chris Farley doing dancing?
The Saturday Night Live where they brought out Swayze.
Yeah, that's what I'm
right,
talking
and it was
yes, classic.
Swayze and Farley. Yeah, there you go.
Classic. Swayze gives us. Oh no, man! I think you got it. No way, man! No, dude. You're so good with your moves, and that's great. Great skit, and they interacted really well with each other. And by the way, huge Patrick Swayze fan. R.I.P. to Patrick Swayze. Yeah, love Roadhouse. Love Next to Kin. Love Red Dawn. Here's one for y'all. Y'all want movies? There's a movie with Patrick Swayze called Fatherhood. Very underrated movie. Mid '90s kind of dark comedy. It's very good.
Yeah, B-Pace. Roadhouse is one of my go-tos. I love that. But there was a movie in the '80s that's not very good, but about hockey. Rob Lowe, he plays like a supporting cast member called Youngblood. That I used to love because I love obviously sports movies. It's not a great sports movie, but just the fact not any sports movie, but that was a cool movie. I thought.
It's a horrible movie. Don't watch it, but it's a cool movie.
We appreciate Kyle chiming in on Facebook. He said, "Is this Pirate football?" Yeah, Kyle, I failed to make an overlay for the movie conversation. So we are not talking Pirate football.
Who Kyle? Kyle Willis?
Kyle, I'm guessing it's pronounced Ray, R-E-A.
I don't know this Kyle. I know Kyle Willis. I don't know me.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say Kyle Ray chiming in on Facebook.
All right.
Yeah, we typically talk Pirate football, but we if you missed the first 2 hours of the show, other Kyle, we've kind of rambled off into movie discussion at this point.
All right, we'll get out of here. I appreciate everybody again. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you. We're Big Board Sports. We have Kyle Barber, we have Bubba, we had Dom Davis. Appreciate him talking about his win against Navy and what he's doing now. Pete Medhurst, play-by-play voice of the Navy midshipmen. Good luck to the Pirates. We'll do our basketball overtime, a double shot. We'll do that tomorrow night. Until next time, you've been watching the Pirate football playback. I'm sorry, the Pirate preview right here on the Sports Objective. Good night, everybody. Go Pirates.